As you guys know, I'm the host of this channel, Hat and Beard. Let's get into it. Again, my apologies for the audio. Well, it's just the way that it is. So maybe write Bill Gates a little letter telling him just how big of a pile of crap he is and all of his software. Looking into the offensive performance, look, we dominated the first half, both offensive and defensively against the Commanders. It was a really good game. We did everything that I said we were gonna. I know it was a little shaky at first. Everyone was going into it. You know, we had a lot of injuries along the offensive line. Jonah Jackson decided that his fingy wasn't going to allow him to play. Halapalooza Vaitai has been on IR. And leading up to the game, Frank Ragnow just couldn't go. His groin was still bugging him, as well as he banged his foot up pretty good, which is unfortunate because now Frank Ragnow is starting to get a little bit of, for as good as he is, dude, how often are you going to play? Because at this rate, we might as well just go with Evan Brown. I mean, the dude's legit. He's a good center, but that's neither here nor there. So we were a little banged up with injuries. And then, you know, leading into the game, I thought it was just kind of the coaches blowing smoke about Swift's ankle injury, you know, because it popped up on Wednesday. Wednesday's kind of the maintenance day for guys to go ahead and take a day off and just kind of recuperate a little bit. But he popped up on the injury report, and then you seen he had both of his tires taped up. So he was running around on one flat tire, and it was a little concerning because Swifty is shifty, and he's kind of a huge catalyst of our offense. So things were a little shaky. We were a little concerned. I think right before the game, the money line moved back over to Washington. But still, hey man, look, we came out with a W, so let's get into the statistics of it real quick here. Offensively, it was a great day, dude. You guys, we put up over 400 yards of offense. That's pretty good considering Swift had less than 100 yards of total overall production. That means that we were distributing the rock around pretty well and being fairly successful in doing so. We had 191 yards on the ground, divvied up between 4 players, really 5 players, but I'm not going to count Jared Goff because he had technically 2 attempts for -2 yards, but you know that's not really him out there rushing. So you really divvy it up between, you know, Swift and Williams and Reynolds and St. Brown. We'll get into those statistics in a minute, as well as we put together 234 yards. Goff threw for 256, but when you deduct any type of sacks or negative plays, 234 yards went to the receivers and running backs. That's a pretty damn good outing for Jared Goff, considering we're a run-first team. But we averaged 7 yards a clip every play, 7 yards. That's pretty good, man. That is really, really good numbers, man. The 7 yards per play is pretty good. We compiled 17 first downs. That's awesome. 7 yards a clip, you better have a lot of first downs because you're moving the ball pretty methodically with relative ease. I mean, I guess Washington's defense wasn't quite as much as we thought it was going to be. You know, they have some guys, and we were blessed that Chase Young was out. But, you know, we had 17 first downs. We went 4 of 13 on third down, which isn't necessarily the best. In fact, that's really bad. I didn't realize we faced 13 third downs. But, yeah, 4 of 13 on third down, that's abysmal. That's just bad, guys. So we need to clean that up. But 4-13 is better than 0-13 on third down, I guess. Speaking about, we went 0-2 on fourth downs. Now, I know, roll the dice, Dan Campbell, Motor City Dan Campbell, Guns Mahoney. He's going to go for it on fourth down. And on the very opening drive, he went for it on fourth down, you know. Yeah, it wasn't the opening drive. It was Washington's opening drive. I mean, it was our second drive. Sorry, not Washington's opening drive. It was our second drive, and we went for it on 4th and goal, and we came up short. And then, boy, we were really... Look, I'm not going to say we were bailed out in the sense that, like, it was a make-or-break scenario for the game, but it does swing the momentum from one end of the pendulum to the other. But when we got that safety, it really bailed out the failure of the 4th down conversion right down there in the red zone. So that was a benefit because not only do we get the 2 points, but we also get the ball back on a free kick, as well as all of the momentum and hype going into it, having successfully just defeated their offense so much so that we pushed them into their own end zone and forced them to give up a safety. So that's awesome. Altogether, we ran 61 plays on offense. That's quite a good number of plays for your boys to be out there. I think Washington ended up running over 70, so they had 10 plus plays more than us, and maybe that's why our defense is cramping up so hard, because they were on the field for 70 plays. But look, our offense ran 61 plays. We only gave up 3 sacks. 3 sacks. That's pretty good, man, against the Washington Commanders front 7. That's pretty good. Now I know Chase Young was out, so that makes a bit of a difference in the analytics of it. But still, 3 sacks against Washington is that's pretty good considering their whole team had 3 sacks and Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks. So I'm just saying, our one guy did what your whole team could do. 3 sacks against our offensive line. We punted 5 times. I know it's silly to say, but we're very blessed to have a Jack Fox as a punter. I mean, the relocation specialist for the Detroit Lions is a phenomenal punter. It's still when I'm like, oh, we got a good punter and a good kicker. That is holdover from the old Lions mentality where we had to, dude, I grew up loving Jason Hanson. He was our kicker for a long time, and then we had about a few weeks there after he retired of down kicking, and then we brought in Matt Prater, right? Matt Prater was booming them. Everyone loved Matt Prater, and then he moved on, and last year was a bit of a struggle until Riley Patterson came in as our kicker, and then he ended up going to Jacksonville. We waived him, and now we have Austin Siebert, who's actually, I was down on Austin Siebert during training camp and preseason, but hey, Austin Siebert's been kicking the ball great.
Wait a minute now there, friend. You weren't about to click off this video without liking and subscribing, were you? Come on, man. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy, dude. Just hit like and subscribe.
But back to my original point, Jack Fox absolutely booming them on them 5 punts that he had. So it's nice to have a little weapon in your special teams toolbox. And these two metrics, these two stat lines are the most important reasons why we won the game. 1 penalty, 5 yards. 1 penalty. One penalty for 5 yards. And it was on Penei Sewell, of all people. Our future Hall of Fame offensive tackle. Penei Sewell was the only one that committed a penalty, which it was early on. Maybe the cadence was a little bit different. I'm not going to make excuses. We made up for it. So it's water under the bridge. And then the second important stat line, guys, is that we committed this many turnovers. 0. Nada. 0. Just the old bah, 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 just like your mom does. It was awesome, dude. It's awesome that we played smart football. We didn't commit penalties. We didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. We didn't commit turnovers. And we had the ball for 27 minutes and 57 seconds. Damn near a half hour of the game, we had the ball. That's pretty good ball control. I know when you look at the box score, Washington had the ball more, but they also had 10 more plays on offense than we did. So, look, the box score for the team, awesome. I absolutely love it. I love what I'm seeing. Nearly 300 yards of passing, almost 200 yards of rushing. One penalty for 5 yards and no turnovers. That's awesome. Let's look at the individual statistics of it. So, as I said in my preview video for this week, I said that Jared Goff is going to have to be lights out. He's going to have to really step it up and play damn near a perfect game. And with no turnovers, that's about as close to perfect as you can get. But Jared Goff, he was 20 of 34. I had said that I think he was going to have to throw the ball 30 to 35 times, at least 9 times this season, if you want to win the games. And what do you know? You threw the ball 34 times, completing 20 of them for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a pretty good old day there, Jared Goff, man. Go ahead and pat yourself on the back there for that performance, Jared Goff. You really, in the face of adversity with your lead running back having some flat tires, having your offensive line banged up, Jared Goff, you really stepped up and helped be a catalyst and a leader. You really showed why you're voted the captain and why the team and coaching staff has so much confidence in you, man. Because Jared Goff, I'm not saying Jared Goff single-handedly elevated us to a win. Jared Goff played better than he has been, outside of the last few games last season. If you compare apples to apples last year at this time to this year, Jared Goff's playing lights out. Now, statistically speaking, compared to all the other quarterbacks in the league, Jared Goff is playing above average, right? But for Jared Goff, above average is excellent. That's all we need, because we don't need Jared Goff to be Patrick Mahomes or Justin Herbert. We don't need him to go out there and throw the ball 50, 60 times, because we have a game. We have multiple backs that we're willing to throw into the fire and just feed into the defense. But look, 34 attempts, I told you, 30 to 35 attempts, we're going to be successful. Jared Goff, lights out, bravo. I'm going to give you a strong A grade on the day. Let's look at the rushing numbers. Again, we put together almost 200 yards of offense on the ground. And with DeAndre Swift being limited, we found out he was going to be on a pitch count right before the game. He had his ankles taped up. He clearly had some tire issues going on. So we were going to rely a little bit more on Jay Willie, as well as, and this is something that teams need to learn how to do more regularly, and you're seeing it more and more in the NFL, is manufacture a running game. Look, if you're not going to be able to be effective with your running back, you need to figure out how to manufacture a running game, be it reverses, be it trick plays, be it straight up line and Deebo Samuel or Amon Ra St. Brown up in the backfield. You know what I'm saying? Because both of those guys can do that. So we had to manufacture a running game. We really scaled back Swift's touches. You know, if you actually look at it, our leading rusher on the day was my man, Amon Ra St. Brown. Amon Ra St. Brown carried the ball on the ground 2 times for 68 yards. Okay, and I don't know what is the deal with our offense and ripping off these 50-yard plays on the ground. But, dude, I love it. Look, we're getting gash plays on the ground on offense, and that's awesome. So Amon Ra was our leader. Well, really, he was our leader on offense all day, but he was our leading rusher with 2 carries for 68 yards. DeAndre Swift in limited action. You know, we've seen him rip off a nice one. We've seen him early on, just like last week, he went like plus 40 yards on a carry. But then he didn't touch the ball hardly at all the rest of the game. DeAndre Swift finished the game with 5 carries for 56 yards. Now, I know he had a couple of nice catches, including the touchdown that we'll talk about in a little bit, because that is a play that shows how the Lions have changed the culture here. Because, first of all, not many people can make those plays, but not many Lions in years past would have put that much hustle and effort into getting up and making a move and then scoring the touchdown. But Swift was limited, 5 carries, 56 yards. We knew that was going to be about the stat line for him when we found out about the injury. What we needed, though, was our other running back, our emotional leader in the locker room, Jamal Williams, to step up, and he did. When given the opportunity, we gave him 12 touches, 53 yards. I believe in my preview video, I said Jay Willie's got to have about 50 yards on the ground. So look, man, I'm not saying Motor City Dan Campbell's watching my videos, but I am saying that if Motor City Dan Campbell is watching my videos, he probably wants to hang out with me and goes home and talks to Mrs. Campbell about wanting to be my best friend. And that's cool. Hit me up, Dan Campbell. Let's hang out, dude. And then my boy Craig Reynolds chipped in. He was on the field quite a bit. You know, this is what I was saying about the luxury of a running back like Craig Reynolds, is that he's diverse enough in his skill set that he can be a power back, a running back, a receiving back, a third down back. He can kind of do it all. Now, I'm not saying he does it all really, really, really good, but I'm saying he does it all well enough that he can contribute. So when he's given his opportunities, when he's given his 3 rushing attempts, when he's getting 16 yards on 3 carries, that's pretty good. That is contributing. That is moving the ball. That is giving your best. That is getting the most out of the opportunities you're given. So Craig Reynolds, finishing up at 3 carries and 16 yards, really helped polish off our entire rushing attack. And we had to manufacture carries with Amon Ra St. Brown to help pick up where a flat-tired DeAndre Swift was, not as effective, but still effective even though he was hurt, which says a lot about DeAndre Swift, that even when he's limited, he's still a highly productive player. So hopefully this week Swift's ankle can get a little bit better. Maybe next, I'd like to see a little bit more action out of him next week, but we got a big game coming up against Minnesota. I mean, we're squaring off with Minnesota for the division lead right now. So, we need Swifty to be shifty and be lights out. And finally, let's look at our passing attack, you guys. Well, really, we're looking at our receiving attack. We've already talked about Jared Goff in his almost 300-day performance and 4 touchdowns. Gotta love it out of Jared. You gotta love seeing that out of Jared Goff, because it silences all of you dillweeds that were like, well, we gotta take Malik Willis at 2. You gotta have the future of the franchise. And clearly, Malik Willis out of Liberty is the guy, because it worked out so well bringing a guy out of a small school with Carson Wentz or Trey Lance. So we should have taken Willis at 2, right? Not Aiden Hutchinson, who had a 3-sack day, joining very elite company as one of a handful of rookies to do that. No, let's take Malik Willis, because Jared Goff sucks, right? Jared Goff is trash. Jared Goff can't play in the NFL. Jared Goff is washed, right? That's what I was hearing. That's what I was hearing out of you Lions fans. Jared Goff is washed, so we need to take Malik Willis, or even you friggin' idiots are like, we gotta take Kyle Hamilton at 2. You gotta take a safety at 2. No, you don't. You took Aiden Hutchinson, and it was a smart decision. I'm so happy that Brad Holmes is such a big brain guy, man. He gets it where other GMs have failed. Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell get it, man. That's why you took Penei Sewell last year. You took the best player available. You took Aiden Hutchinson this year. You took the best player available. You traded up next to nothing to get J-Mo. You took the best player available. You're finding gems in the rough. 6th round draft pick, Malcolm Rodriguez. 4th round draft pick, Amon Ra St. Brown. What is with Brad Holmes and finding these superstar wide receivers later on in the drafts? Brad Holmes found Cooper Kupp. Brad Holmes found Amon Ra St. Brown. I think we all need to trust Brad Holmes. Back to my original topic of the wide receivers. Let's get into the hard stats of it all, because boy, it was impressive, fellas. You know, let's talk about the superhero. Let's talk about St. Brown, okay? 9 catches, 116 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Amon Ra St. Brown has been on a tear. Please name me. Look, I'll give you Justin Jefferson, even though he had a down game last game. And I'll give you Devontae Adams. Name me one other wide receiver that has had a better performance over the last 9 games than Amon Ra St. Brown. Name me a more dominant wide receiver with a better stat line, a higher catch rate, a better routes run than Amon Ra St. Brown. Maybe Justin Jefferson, maybe Devontae Adams, and both of those guys had down weeks in week 2. So Amon Ra essentially ascended past them. He's better than Jamar Chase. Jalen Waddle's pretty good. Tyreek Hill's pretty good. But consistency is king. And Amon Ra St. Brown is the most consistent, productive wide receiver in the NFL. So Amon Ra St. Brown, 9 catches, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 carries on the ground for 68 yards. Dude, that is nearly 200 yards of production out of your year 2 wide receiver that you took in the 4th round. How can you ask for anything more than that? Amon Ra St. Brown, you get an A+ grade on the day. You were the leader of the offense, man. You really stepped up and showed out, and boy, I'm so glad that we drafted you, man. Second on the team in receptions was Josh Reynolds with 3 catches, 38 yards, and that big touchdown. You know, we all know that Josh Reynolds and Jared Goff have repertoire, you know, back from their LA days. They're clearly comfortable with one another. I would argue that Jared Goff looks to be more comfortable with St. Brown now than anybody else, especially, man, when you see the chemistry and how they throw the ball, it's almost like they're just communicating on a different level. But Josh Reynolds came in, stepped up big because Shark didn't really perform well. J-Mo's still hurt. You know, Josh Reynolds is a really nice piece to have in your wide receiver room, man. He has bailed us out. Clearly last year he changed some stuff when we finally brought him in, but Josh Reynolds is a nice piece. You know, it's awesome to have a nice complimentary wide receiver like Josh Reynolds who can pick up the slack when Sharks getting overthrown, we'll say. DeAndre Swift chipping in 2 catches for 31 yards and a touchdown. As I said earlier on in the video, his touchdown play is a signifier to me that this is a different regime, that this is a different energy with the franchise, that this is something different, because in years past, Lions players would have, if they would have caught the piss poorly thrown ball that Goff hit him with, they would have just laid on the ground, been tapped down, and then that would have been the end of the play. But DeAndre Swift, while hurt, got up, ran his ass to the end zone, outran some guys, made a little move there, and he scored 31 yards and a touchdown with a injured, limited DeAndre Swift receiving. Look, for a injured DeAndre Swift, 50 yards on the ground, 30 receiving and a touchdown, that's like as awesome of a stat line as you can get out of a limited running back, a limited DeAndre Swift. That is literally like a limited stat line for him. Imagine if he was healthy, the dominance that he would have. But DeAndre Swift chipping in. Hawk. TJ Hawkinson. This is your 2nd week in a row with 7 targets, and you brought in 3 of them. Look, I'm not saying it's all Hawk's fault. I'm just saying that Hawk is probably. I don't think we should renew Hawk's contract. I don't think he's worth being paid a top 5 tight end money. Jared Goff clearly doesn't have the chemistry with him. When you see Goff throw to nearly every other player, there's something there. But when Goff throws to Hawk, it's just like, dude, it's like they're just not jiving well, man. It's like you're trying to play a record in an 8-track player, and it's just not going to work, man. I don't know what Hawk's deal is. I don't know, maybe it's a Goff thing, man, because if you look at some of the passes, they're a little high. Maybe he's just trying to put them in spots where only Hawk can get it. But Hawk, dude, bro, I want to like you, TJ Hawkinson. I want you to be good, man. But 3 on 7 targets for 26 yards is just not going to cut it, and especially because you've been screwing it, just dropping the ball in the running game, man. You haven't really been this like road grader that we all thought you were, but hey, you know, you got to contribute. And then we got a couple two-tree guys with 1 catch. Brock Wright coming in big with a 25-yard snag. You got to love to see our reserve tight ends contributing when they have the opportunity. Brock Wright is someone who I've been a little bit high on. I thought we'd see him more in the H-back role, but hey, you got, and I actually think he caught that pass running out of the slot too. So that's a good sign that he has the athleticism to match up in that spot. Craig Reynolds, another contributor. He only had the 3 carries, but he also had 1 catch for 13 yards. So Craig Reynolds chipping in almost 30 yards of production on 4 touches in the game as your number 3 running back. That is a huge bonus. And then Mr. Not so great with his hands, but hey, he made a snag. Jay Willie coming in big with 1 catch for 7 yards. So Jay Willie was exactly what we needed Jay Willie to be. Jay Willie picked up the slack and stepped up in the limited role of DeAndre Swift. Jay Willie did a fine job. Jay Willie is exactly what I've been saying is a good thing to have in a number 2 running back. He's really a starting running back, and we have the luxury of having him as our backup. It's really 1A, 1B, but it contributing in the pass game, contributing in the rush game, and then unfortunately, DJ Shark. No catches. And this has happened in both weeks where Goff has just missed Shark. Just missed him by the skin of his teeth. Just barely out through him. Just barely missed the pass. And you've seen him make these passing catches in practice and in training camp a lot. So you know that it's there. It's just in the game, if you miss it once or twice, maybe Goff isn't going to look your way next time. He's going to go back to the well with Amon Ra St. Brown, which is, I think, what he did. But hey, DJ Shark, man, next week, you'll have a better game, dude. You'll step it up. You'll have better weeks, DJ Shark. I know you're on a $10 million prove deal, and I'd love for you to prove it. Last week, you caught a touchdown, 4 for 50 and a touchdown. This week, no catches. But hey, everybody else stepped up, so you didn't have to worry about it. All in all, boys, I think our offense did pretty dang well. I mean, we put up 36 points on the Washington Commies, and we're 1-1. It's been a while since we've been 500 week 2 as a Detroit Lions fan. Everything's kind of coming up for us, man. So we need to make sure that our offense stays sharp, stays crispy like this, that Jared Goff keeps getting the ball out quick because, Danielle Hunter is a pretty good defensive end, and the Minnesota Vikings, they're going to be pissed after what happened Monday night in Philly. So, expect for them to be mad. We got 1 extra day to prepare for them. They got to lick their wounds a little bit more after that beat down in Philadelphia. Hopefully we don't get a big head, man. Hopefully our offense stays well. Hopefully Swift can patch his ankle up. Hopefully Jonah Jackson can get back on the field. But it was great to see Dan Skipper. Dude, Dan Skipper, I am so sorry that it took me to the end of the video to mention Dan Skipper. Dan Skipper, you are actually the most unsung of the heroes on the day. Dan Skipper pulled up from the practice squad, never started a game in his life, been beaten down, cut more times than he cares to admit, never played guard in his life, came in, filled in for Jonah Jackson, did just a bang-up job. Dan Skipper, bro, if I ever knew you or met you or seen you, I'd buy you a beer, dude. You're the man. Thank you, Dan Skipper, for everything. You're a Dan Campbell guy, Dan Skipper, and man, thank you for really just bailing us out because no one's going to admit it, but Jonah Jackson wanted to be a pussy with his fingy, and Tommy Kramer's hurt, and Big V's on IR. And Stenberg did great, Our middle of our offensive line, considering there were a bunch of reserves and 1 practice squad guy, did a bang-up job, guys. 3 sacks. That's awesome. Dan Skipper, you're the man. Evan Brown, you're the man. Thank you to both those guys. If you see your local Dan Skipper or your local Evan Brown, give them a pat on the back and tell them thank you for all that they do for the Detroit Lions. So that's going to do it for me, guys. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been an intended audience. We will catch you in the next one where we break down our defensive performance. See you then. Peace.
Is that a fact? That's a fact.